Welcome to the Lightforge. This is ADWCTA.
Hey, this is MERPS. Hello.
Stuff has
Hi.
happened. A lot of stuff has happened. A ton of
Stuff
stuff has
has
happened.
happened. All right, so BlizzCon just happened, as in I think it's like just over with now. But BlizzCon happened on Friday and Saturday. Got ton of news about Hearthstone, but it doesn't matter because they did not announce Diablo 2
Yeah,
remaster.
nothing
So
else
I
matters.
don't
So we
care.
should
I
just
really
end this
don't care.
podcast about Hearthstone Arena because there was no Diablo 2 remastered announcement. So aside from the fact that we're really bummed out, me and Merps are huge Diablo. Like they announced Diablo 4, but whatever, right? We'll talk about that later. But like no Diablo 2 remaster announcement basically means this was a really crappy BlizzCon announcement for us. Like they announced a ton of stuff, everything's changing as usual, blah blah blah. But that's what happens, right? When you don't get the Christmas gift you want, it doesn't matter what other gifts there are and like how great they may be objectively, or if you didn't want this particular thing. But
No,
you
this
just
is the Christmas gift that you thought you were getting an actual Christmas gift, but you go look under the tree. It's got a big box. You open up the box, and it's a note from your mom being like, "Hey, sweetie, this is an IOU for an amazing gift 2 years from now. Merry Christmas." That's it. That was honestly it. You wanted something, but your mom was like, "Hey, I'm gonna get you something 2 years from now, okay? And it's gonna be great. I promise you, it'll be great."
okay. We'll talk about that later. But for those of us who are still playing the Hearthstone Arena, one, maybe pause a little bit. This is probably not the best time to play. But two, there is news, and we will talk about the non-Hearthstone Arena part of the news after this. Before we talk about it's going to go in order. This episode of the podcast is going to go in this order: Hearthstone Arena, Hearthstone not Arena stuff, Blizzard not Hearthstone stuff. That's the order we're
Oh,
going. So
okay.
Hearthstone Arena stuff, number one. There is, and we'll talk about the new expansion first before we talk about the new meta. So two things have happened since we were last on the Lightforge. One is the dual class event ended, and we're in a new meta right now without dual classes. And we'll talk about what that means after this. But I think everyone's more excited by the expansion announcement. So let's start off there. Descent of Dragons has been announced. It is the third expansion this year from Hearthstone. It is a end of the year expansion, which means we all knew it was going to be a little bit crazy. It's a lot crazy, and Arena is not going to be immune from the craziness. And we'll break everything down from what we know. There's dragons, as you can tell from the name. I don't know. I like the name. It's DOD, right? Easy.
I was actually gonna say that. I was actually gonna ask. I'm like, how happy are you that
Okay.
you
Do you
have
know
something that you can just, like TGT.
TGT?
Now this is
Do you
DOD.
know how many times I've said SOU? Zero. Zero,
Yeah,
because it
you
was
don't
such a
say that.
crappy acronym.
It's just saviors.
Uh,
Yeah, saviors.
It's so many like syllables, and it's a word. I don't use the word. Like, I'm not a religious person. That's not just something I say. It's not in my head. Like, Ungoro is more in my head than the word saviors in the English language to me. And the fact that Angoros came back probably helped that. And Saviors left very quickly. Anyway, Descent of Dragons is coming. Crazy things are coming. Why don't you kick us off with this? So they actually released like 30 cards or some like crazy amount for the first season. Normally they tell you like less than 10 cards, and they like leave the rest to your imagination and trickle it in after like 2 weeks of radio silence. But here they announced like a lot of cards. So what new mechanics are coming in? There's a couple new mechanics we already know about.
There's a couple new mechanics. Well, first of all, I want to say we're getting another lackey, as per usual. And we're getting a draconic lackey, which is a 1 mana 1/1 battle cry. Discover a dragon. We just want to get that out of the way. This is like the
Oh, what?
generic
Wait,
lackey.
where is this? Oh, the lackey. Okay, I was like, I didn't know this was a card. Yep,
Yeah,
yep. There's
yeah,
the new
yeah, it's a
lackey.
lackey.
Yep.
Anyways, so we have two new themes or keywords. I don't know what you want to call it. The first are side quests. Wait, are these going to be in the arena? The side
So you
quests?
want to talk about side quests first? I
Yeah, yeah,
assume
yeah.
no. So no one has said anything about whether any of these are going to be in the arena. There has been one announcement about the arena, so we already know what the next rotation is going to be. Um, I don't have it in front of me because I'm more concerned right now with the expansion. But there is going to be a arena rotation that's happening at the end of like with the launch of this expansion, and it will like yeah have like a whole new rotation. That's the only thing arena wise has been confirmed. None of these mechanics have been confirmed. None of the rule changes that may or may not happen. Nothing else. So let's talk side quests. Side quest
Okay.
is a new mechanic. We have 2 side quest cards that have been revealed. And if you guys remember, quests are already a concept in Hearthstone. They are legendary spells. They start in your hand. That's their unique characteristics. You play them, and they sit in a special part of the board. And then afterwards, you complete your quest by, like, I don't know, casting 18 spells or summoning 48 minions, and then you get your reward. Which
It's gonna be a little bit easier than that, but yeah.
yes, which is like in the form of like this card that is like a heavily discounted, ridiculous minion that does some crazy legendary stuff. So that's what quests were before. Now you have side quests. So I'll take the first one and you can do the hunter one. The first side quest that was revealed was Learn Draconic, which is a mage side quest. Side quests do not start in your hand. They have to be drawn just like any normal cards. It's a 1 mana spell, but presumably, other than that, they work the same as quests. And the side quest says spend 8 mana on spells. So after you put the side quest on the board, you have to spend 8 mana on spells, and then if you do, reward, summon a 6/6 dragon. So for 1 mana, you can get a 6/6 dragon, which is a pretty good deal. But you have to cast 8 mana of spells before the dragon pops up.
Yep. All right. So for the hunter, we have Toxic Reinforcement. It's epic side quest, 1 mana. The side quest is use your hero power 3 times. You guys know how much I love to do that. And the reward is summon 3/1/1 leper gnomes. It depends, like how much you can get away with being aggressive and doing this stuff. One of the problems I see with this card is just it's so, oh man, like
1
you're
mana,
not gonna.
6 face damage.
It's
Double
good,
Sinister Strike.
but it's a 1 mana. You're taking a card away from your hand in order to get that maybe like 4 turns from now or 3 turns from now.
So you play it, use your hero power, right? Then the next turn,
Yeah.
use your hero power. Then the next turn, use your hero power. So that is, if you count the current turn, well, you can't. If you don't count the current turn, right? That's 1, 2. So in 2 turns, you will get 3 leper gnomes, which means in 4 turns, your leper gnomes will actually die. Maybe.
Maybe. And
if they have something on the board.
One of the problems with this is just like you never want to use your hero power as hunter in like turn 2 or
Oh,
turn
sorry, I
3
did
or
that math
turn
wrong.
4.
In turn, in the you get your leper gnomes in 2 turns, and they will die in 3 turns, not 4 turns.
So this is one of those cards in which I'm hoping that a card like this is actually relevant, but just based on the way the hunters operate, I can't see it being that relevant. Anyways, it's an interesting little thing, and as you can see, side quests they're not that hard to complete. People in the chat are saying like they think it'll be in the arena. I think so as well. I'm just these are things that I'm just like not 100% sure, but I do agree. I don't see why they would not be in the arena.
They're like spirits,
So,
right? They do kind of the
yeah,
same thing.
kind of.
Spirits have that's the Rostocon stuff. That's like whatever minions, and then they're stealth for 1 turn. So you get to like use the ability that it gives, and then like use it again or whatever. And they're in the arena. So these are like, if you look at spirits and how they designed that, right? Like these are not going to be good in the arena for the most part, but they could be playable. So
Definitely playable. We've seen many cards worse than
yeah,
these cards, right?
yeah.
So even the hunter side quest that I just sort of highlighted, it's not going to be a good card, but draftable. So
Totally draftable. Yeah,
totally
if
draftable.
you're building in that hero power into each of your turns, what that means is you play this card, and in 3 turns, you will be able to get, like, including this turn, right? In 3 turns, so it's a total of 4 turns. You will be able to get 8 plus 6 or 14 face damage, guaranteed. That's a
Yeah.
lot. Now, it is in the course of however many turns, so you can't die before then. But assuming they don't heal, this is all direct damage. Like, that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's definitely not bad. All
Uh,
right, cool.
yep. Okay, so that's toxic reinforcements. Learn draconic. For the mage spell, I guess I didn't evaluate how good it would be. It depends on what kind of meta you're in. If you're in a meta with a lot of spells, this is pretty good. Like just a 6/6 dragon, right? Like size wise, that's a decently big card. So if you're in a meta in which you're pretty much guaranteed to play 8 mana of spells at some point, even if you end up top decking this card, then it's a good card. If you can play the spells in a useful fashion on the turn that you play Learn Draconic or the turn after, then you get a 6/6 dragon for 1 mana on a delay of like 1. That's insanely
Lots of this has to do with, especially for a card like Learn Draconic. It's not just about the size of the spells in the meta. It's really just about how many spells are
good.
offered,
Yes.
right? And we have seen the biggest of swings from the beginning of dual class arena to when they bumped everything up, and now we have like lots of class cards within the meta. So that's really the thing with Learn Draconic. It's like if you are in a neutral stone meta, then this is really bad. You just won't get spells. But if they bump up the class offering rates to 11, then this is really, really easy, like extraordinarily
Mm-hmm.
easy. And you're just paying 1 mana for a delayed 6/6. So it's really, it's not even just meta. I mean, yeah, it's meta, but not in the meta that I think a lot of people think of it.
Yep.
It's just dependent on Blizzard and which way they are sort of pushing down with their thumbs.
Yep. So yeah, I think it could be a good card in the right situation. But we'll see, right? Like the algorithm will tell you how good this is. With the toxic reinforcements, one thing that I think is interesting about it is because it's such a bad top deck. Like if you're top decking as a hunter, you don't really want to pay off 3 turns from now. It's actually not that good for like super aggressive hunters. It's like much better for
It's
a
not.
mid-range hunter where you can
Yeah.
like do things and like actually slow down or speed up. And once you get this, you're like, all right, I'm going to hero power every turn now and try to end the game while having other cards to play. If you just like top deck this, it's like terrible. So it promotes mid range hunter, even though it's just a pure direct face damage kind of card.
Definitely. You need your cards to be cards.
Yep.
Like they can't be situational cards or dead cards. And this card is actually a dead card
Mm-hmm.
for a few turns. Like it's simmering, it's marinating as a side quest, but it is literally a dead card. It's basically just like gang up uh, for a few turns. But then suddenly you get leopard gnomes, which is great. Like 3 leopard gnomes is fantastic.
Yep.
But yeah, this is the definition of a dead card for a while.
Yeah. So that's how good these cards are. In terms of design, I love this design for the arena.
Yes. Yep.
There's you can react to it, right? Because it'll probably be on the board for more than 1 turn, which means you get to do something to prepare for it. It's not like super powerful. Like you may look at the swings and think, well, that's a huge swing. Yes, but it comes later on, and you need some kind of synergy for it in the mage case. In the hunter case, it comes like way later on. So you can like prepare for it, you can strategize with it. A good player will fight against these cards better than a bad player will. And that is very important because what's with all these cards, you're going to see them against you more often than you're going to play with them. So it's a good promotion of skill to have these cards in the meta. And it causes swings, right? Like, you know how much we hate swings, but this is a good kind of swing because it's the kind of swing that involves like skill and reaction and all this other stuff that you want. If you have a game with 0 swing, then just like by turn 2, you should know who wins, right? So there's got to be some swing in the game. And swing in this game has gotten so massive that it's good to see some kind of like controllable swings that can change the shape of the game, but in a skillful way, not just I happen to have this synergy. Haha, swing. Okay, so that's one of the new mechanics coming out. Another new mechanic coming out. This one, I will bet you will not be in the arena. I'm reading in chat, and it seems like Mike Danae was saying that they have not decided yet whether it's in arena or not. But I'll bet you anything it won't be in the arena because it's just impossible to work. And that is Invoke. Invoke
Yep.
is the new keyword, and what Invoke does is there are these like dragons, these legendary dragons that you can put in your deck.
Galakrond.
So these legendary dragons, whose names I do not need to know because it's complicated and it won't be in the arena. These G dragons, and there's a G dragon for each class, each of the 5 evil classes. I think. I don't think the good classes have G dragons, but they all do something different. So each of the classes gets a unique legendary, and actually the legendary slots. Like these classes are going to get 3 legendaries rather than 2 for this set. So 140 cards are coming out this set, not 135. But when you play a card with Invoke, it's like Cthulhu. It buffs the G Dragon. And you can imagine that that's a very useless keyword if you don't have G Dragon in your deck.
So yeah, here's the thing about Galakrond. Galakrond is always a 7 mana dragon. It's a hero card, right? It's a hero card, and it always has a battle cry. And that depends on what class Galakrond you have. There are 5 Galakrons. There's you can get them for Rogue, Warrior, Warlock, Shaman, and Priest.
Yeah, the evil classes.
The evil classes, right. So they have a base battle cry, which is already like pretty decent. And then of course you have once you turn into Galakrond, you have a new hero power. For example, they revealed that for rogues, once you turn into Galakrond, your hero power becomes 2 mana. Add a lackey to your hand. Not bad, like get a ton of lackeys.
All totally irrelevant because on top of G Dragons being not in the arena because they are these kind of Invoke cards, they're also like you said, right? They're a hero replace, and hero replaces they're Death Knights, and Death Knights aren't in the arena to begin with. So unless they're bringing all the Death Knights back, this card just won't be in the arena.
If they do decide to do it, then that's a huge sort of 180 on the philosophy that they've taken so far.
So they have to do 2 steps. They have to do 2 steps, right? First, they have to put all the Death Knights back, and then they have to say these Invoke cards are still fun enough to be put in the arena, even like if they don't do anything, unless you happen to have this one particular legendary in your deck. I say one particular legendary because they are class cards. You have 1 G Dragon per only 5 classes. And Invoke cards are kind of crappy. Like if you don't use the Invoke, I'm just gonna like read out a couple of Invoke cards. 3 mana for a Warlock card. Give your minions +1 attack. Invoke Galakrond. Like that's crap. If you're not invoking G Dragon, that's just not a card you would ever. It's terrible. Praise Galakrond. I think that's a rogue card. Give a minion +1 attack for 1 mana. It's terrible. But you get to invoke Galakrond.
Yeah, the only decent one is really from Priest, which 5 mana, time rip, destroy a minion, and invoke Galakrond. This is just assassinate, which is fine.
So they're not all useless, but most of them we've seen are useless. And I don't think Blizzard's going to put all these useless cards in the arena just for time rip. And this all presumes that Death Knights are even coming back into the arena, which people hated Death Knights. Like, we never had problems with Death Knights, but people hated Death Knights. So I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think so. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't made an official announcement one way or the other. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we just didn't know until the expansion actually just came out, and then we saw whether it was or was not in the arena.
That sounds like Blizzard and arena.
That sounds like them.
There's other Invoke cards on top of these. So there's like neutral Invoke cards. Shield of Galakrond, 5 mana, 4/5, Taunt, Battlecry, Invoke Galakrond. It's a bad arena card, but like potentially playable if you have really crappy options, even without the Invoke Galakrond. But they're just all like, I really don't think they're going to be in the arena. And there's also other cards that's like they use Invoke in kind of like weird ways. So there's a Warlock card that's a 4 mana 5/4 which is a good stat in the arena, right? It has a battle cry. If you've invoked twice, draw 3 cards. So I guess that's usable in the arena, even if you don't have a G-Dragon to invoke. If you just play 2 invoke cards that are crap, you can get really good benefit out of this. But anyway, it's just a whole mechanic that I think falls squarely in Blizzard's philosophy that if this card makes you feel bad that you can't do the thing that it wants you to do, you don't put it in the arena, even if it otherwise would be okay. Like, that's how Cthulhu worked. Cthulhu had so many good neutral minions, and none of them were in. And it was overall fine. Like, we thought it would be nice for them to be in, but we're like hardcore players who don't care about feeling good or bad by reading text. Invoke is definitely something that the arena could live without.
Yep. All right.
Yeah, and without Invoke, that's a whole lot of cards, is my other point. And all those cards are not going to be in the arena. So this is actually going to be a pretty light set for the arena.
Yeah. This is the Invoke set because a lot of it has to do... Like, Galakron has a lot of support around it. Mm-hmm. So they want this to be a thing. They don't want it to just be, like a splash of Galakron or Invoke. They're going all in on this. And that's just sort of the direction Hearthstone is going. It's been going for a while. So there's a ton of support for it. And we'll see how that shakes out.
Yeah. Mostly we just spend all this time talking about something you don't have to care about. But if you ever see it, you know not to worry about it unless you are playing something that's not arena. Okay. So finally, the last thing that's coming into the arena that we know about right now, and it's happening a lot, and it's happening everywhere, and it is in the name of the expansion. It's dragons. Lots of dragons. It's not a new mechanic, but they are doing crazy things with dragons. I'm gonna start with a couple cards, just to illustrate.
We're just gonna talk about a few today, right? Like a couple that we want to highlight.
I'm just gonna roll out some cards all at once. I don't want to analyze them too much because they're all ridiculous, right? Like,
okay, all right, right. So the big umbrella thing is these are powerful cards. Go.
Big powerful cards. So each class seems to get a breath. I'll just name the ones that we know so far. Shaman, Lightning Breath, 3 mana, deal 4 damage to a minion. Normal.
Already pretty good.
Mm-hmm. If you are holding a dragon, also damage its neighbors. 3 mana
pretty
Flame
good.
Strike. Not OP at all. Totally normal card. If you're just holding a dragon doesn't need to be on the board. Zero ability to react to this, by the way, because your opponent just has to hold it in their hand. Okay. If you think that's unfair, don't worry. Every class seems to be getting one of this. It'll just be Swing City here. Corrosive Breath, which is the Hunter one. 2 mana, deal 3 damage to a minion. If you're holding a dragon, it also hits the enemy hero. This is for Hunter.
2 mana Cobra Shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cobra Shot's 5 mana.
Cobra Shot is 5 mana.
Okay. Candle Breath. This one's Rogue. 6 mana, draw 3 cards. Cost 3 less while you're holding a dragon.
Huh. 3 mana, draw 3. That seems pretty good.
Normally it's 5 mana, draw 3. So you're only saving 2 mana here. Okay. And all these other cards, you're saving like 4 mana, 3 mana. So this is a crap card. Rogue totally really got the short end of the stick here. Keep in mind, dragons are going to be all over the place, in case you're wondering. In the arena rotation that's coming in, I didn't read out all the stuff, but like the dragon heavy, like Blackrock Mountain is back. Like the arena rotations are going to have Blackrock Mountain. Okay. Finally, the last breath that we saw is Paladin, Sand Breath, 1 mana. Give a minion +1/+2, which is Divine Strength. Fits the theme, right? Of like, this is just a normal card. But if you're holding a dragon, also give it Divine Shield. Which would normally cost like, I don't know, an additional mana and a half. So
we have Hand of Protection, right? As a card.
Yeah, like so that's worth about a mana and a half if you don't count the card, right? Like that's only worth 1 mana because it also uses up a card. If it didn't use up a card, it would probably cost like 2 mana. Like if it said draw a card. Oh, we do actually have draw a card. We have the 2 mana give a minion Divine Shield and draw a card.
Yeah, Potion of Heroism.
Potion of Heroism. There we go. So this gets you 2 extra mana for the cost of 1 mana.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. All pretty good. The druid has a breath as well, says someone in chat. I don't
Yep,
see
it's
it.
Breath of Dreams.
Oh, there we go.
Breath of Dreams is 2 mana. Draw a card. If you're holding a dragon, gain an empty mana crystal. I mean, the constructed implications for this is huge, like ridiculously huge. But this is, I mean, it's good.
Yeah, in the
It's a
arena,
thing.
I don't really care too much.
I mean, compared to the other breaths, this is like underwhelming for arena,
yes.
right? It's like the lightning breath. That's the breath that I'm just like, oh god, I'm gonna lose to this, and there's no way to play around it. All of this stuff. Breath of Dreams, they really have to like draw at a specific time and want to ramp into something specific. It's just one of those things.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that bad. Because you're spending 2 mana to do this. So you're not really, like, tempoing out, unless it's very early on in the game that you can recoup it, right? The way a Wild Growth can. And if you already have 10 mana, this literally does nothing but is a 2 mana cycle. Because the empty mana crystal doesn't turn into another card, because the card already does something. So, right. It's whatever. Okay, so that's a preview of what dragons are going to do. So I think it's safe to say the entire arena meta will revolve around every class trying to get dragons and trying to get these cards. Because they're insane. I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah.
And okay, here's something else I can say about it. In case you are wondering if you are going to be able to get dragons, right? Because maybe like dragons are not that great, even though we know dragons are great. Maybe there's some cost to obtaining dragons right in your hand. Here's some new dragons coming into the arena. Primordial Explorer, which is a hunter card. The 3-mana 2/3. Sorry, it's an Emperor Cobra. It's a 3-mana 2/3 dragon with poisonous, and it has a battle cry. It's an Emperor Cobra with a free battle cry. And the battle cry is discover a dragon. Okay, so it's a normal card that we rate like, I don't know what we rate Emperor Cobra now, but it's like a 120 or something, maybe like a 115. It's good. Decent. You want it in your deck. It's above the value of the average card in your deck. I know that.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not a beast, it's a dragon, which I think is more useful than being a beast in this expansion at least.
Oh my gosh, yeah, definitely.
And you get a free discover a dragon.
Yep. All the dragons, basically all the dragons are ridiculously powerful. Like, okay, so you're just like, wow, Hunter really lucked out on that dragon. No, this is just the thing. All right, well, let's just go one up. Emerald Explorer. This is the Druid Dragon. So it's a common, and 6 mana, 4/8 dragon with taunt. So the body of a Primordial Drake. Battlecry, discover a dragon.
So these cards basically give up like pretty much no stats.
No, they don't give up any stats, and you just get to discover another dragon.
Now, Bone Drake gave up 2 stats for Death Rattle, add a random dragon into your hand, and Bone Drake is a near premium card.
Yeah.
So this gets 2 extra stats basically. And not only do you get the dragon immediately, but you get to discover it to prevent the crap dragons from coming into your hand.
Yep. Pretty good. Pretty freaking good.
It's going to be a dragon meta, and it's going to be a very high swing dragon meta based on whoever has more dragons in their deck.
Yeah. Are you going to talk about the neutral dragon?
Why don't you talk about the neutral dragon? I don't even want to look at this neutral dragon. Now, to be fair, this dragon is crap compared to all the stuff we just talked about. Like, it's like one of the worst cards I've seen in this set. That is a dragon. But why don't you go ahead?
Oh, the Twin Tyrant?
Twin Tyrant.
It's still really good.
No, it's total crap. You guys heard what we were just talking about. You get like 2 mana free, 3 mana free, 4 mana free. Blizzard's like Oprah here. Like, everyone gets just like free random manas all over the place. Why? Because you decided to put dragons in your deck. Good for you, Timmy.
So in all seriousness, Twin Tyrant is an 8 mana dragon. So expensive. 4/10 stats. Battlecry, deal 4 damage to 2 random enemy minions. It can't double up, so you can't kill like an 8/8. But if you have 2 things with 4 health, it'll kill both of them.
Yeah, it's like a multi-shot. You can play it without 2 targets too. It'll just like hit one of them for 4.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's sort of a multi-shot, more powerful multi-shot on a big stick.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I mean, but that's it. It's it's
That's
really
it.
good.
That's it.
And this, like, you're really gonna have to consider sort of just like how when like Pit Croc came out, you always worry about something with 5 health on turn 8. Now you just have to, now you like want things to be more than 4 health, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you can't let them just die free to Twin Tyrants. You want to be
Nah,
able
I
to
don't know if
plan
it
around
matters.
that.
The swing's so high in this upcoming like thing. I just don't think anything matters. I think it's just gonna be like whatevs.
Uh,
You just play stuff, and then if you have more dragons, you can come back from this, right? Like you can get destroyed by this, but your swing is so big on your side too, because it's not like your opponent has dragons. You have dragons too, and you can just be like, "Oh, did you clear my board and put a 4/10 on the board? Haha! I played 30 mana's worth of stuff in the arena for 8 mana. You still lose." That's gonna be the meta.
a lot of powerful stuff.
A lot of powerful stuff. So keep in mind we have Primordial Drake right now as our #1 card in this meta in the neutral, and that's 164. This is not a Primordial Drake, but it's going to be a similar like power level. So it may not even be. It's probably not even as good as a Primordial Drake, honestly. Like it's not. Like I know people look at it and they like start counting and doing math and they're like, "This is insane! What the hell?" And like, yeah, it is. It's a super premium. You're gonna hate meeting up against it, but it doesn't actually like raise the bar for what neutrals can do. Power level wise, it certainly raises the bar for what you can expect the neutral to do and what you have to like play around. You basically have this like mini flame strike walking around at all times. It's a new meta.
Right. No, I think that's relevant. Like for those of you, you know, who are perhaps afraid that the sky is falling down, like what ADWCTA says is true. It doesn't push the boundaries of anything. It's like we have had Primordial Drake. I'm not saying Primordial Drake is healthy for the game,
Mm-hmm.
but we've seen something like that, right? And
Yeah.
I think a lot of us would agree. It's like, would you rather take this or rather take Primordial Drake? And I think the answer is like kind of it depends,
Mm-hmm.
right? It definitely depends. So the power level there is pretty similar. It is kind of I think when people look at this, it's sort of like the tipping point because they see all the other dragons and then they see this neutral dragon. It's like, are you freaking serious? I thought I only had to dodge like 1 or 2 powerful class dragons, and now there's this. I don't know what to say to that because there's not much to say to that because it is kind of true. It's gonna suck. The swings are gonna be huge. Not much you can do to plan around this, and I'm sure we haven't seen the last of powerful dragons just yet. So whenever you see all of this stuff, oh, and also things that work with dragons, right? Like all the activators.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yep. So okay, I just looked up the arena rotation just because if you're wondering, like, I told you Black Rock Mountain was going to be in, right? Ungoro's not going to be in, so we are not going to see Primordial Drake in this Land of Dragons, thank God. But the other sets that are coming in is Grand Tournament, One Night in Karazhan, Knights of the Frozen Throne, and Rastakan's Rumble. So, like, it's mostly Blackrock Mountain Dragons that you want to worry about. Knights of the Frozen Throne has Bone Drake. That's the big one from there. But like,
For
as
how
we've
much BRM was about dragons, it really wasn't a dragon set. It had some dragons, but those dragons weren't like
they weren't
uh,
good, but
they weren't
there
that
were a lot of
good.
dragons, right? All you need to do in this set is just to add dragons, because the cards that work off dragons are in this set.
Yes, that's true. No, but I like if you look at stuff like Volcanic Drake or Draconic Crusher,
Yeah.
now I'm just like, oh, these are tame as hell. They're so tame. They don't do that much compared to everything else, and that's where we're at.
Yeah. So Bone Drake is back, but it's a pretty crappy card compared to the other dragons that are in here. Rastakhan has Scorcher, which is a very good dragon, one of the best dragons without the dragon synergies. And I'm reading this right now from Twitch chat. FTC, thank you so much for pulling these up. We did not come this prepared in dragons. We were just prepared to be like, yeah, dragons, just insane. Pick all the dragons. But so here are some synergies for dragons, right? Roaster, Proud Roaster is in Rastakhan. And that normally is not that big of a deal in the arena in the past because we didn't have an insane amount of dragons. But because now we will, Proud Roaster is going to become an insane card coming back. That's 7 mana, 7/4 Battlecry. If you're holding a dragon, deals 7 damage to an enemy minion. So kind of insane. The Keating guy says Karazhan has Netherspite Historian. You're gonna have dragons in your hand, so now Netherspite Historian, instead of being like very questionable as a 2 mana 1/3, is nearly guaranteed.
It's gonna be almost guaranteed.
Well.
Yeah. And if you guys remember, Netherspite Historian, like a couple of years ago, it was still playable. People drafted it, it hit like a decent amount of times. And with the amount of dragons we're going to be seeing, you are definitely going to be able to get Netherspite Historian off, which is just fantastic. We also have Blackwing Corruptor as well.
Mm-hmm.
I see that from chat, but that was also something I want to mention.
Blackwing Corruptor is BlackRock.
Yeah, it's BlackRock.
Yeah. We have Scalebane. That's still going to be in the arena. And that's, again, independently good dragons, right? You don't need the dragon synergies. It can just be used to set up the dragon synergies. Legend Heart says Karazhan also has Bookworm. Oh, Bookworm, what a crappy dragon. Like, you get it to trigger, and it's worse than all the cards in your deck in this expansion. Like,
dude, all you get is a Shadow Word Pain. Are you serious? Ew.
Right? Like, what? That's nothing. Look at all these dragon cards. Anyway, all the old dragons coming back for the most part are crap compared to the the synergies. What you care about though is just that they are a dragon, right? And if they are a dragon, they are really, really, really good because the new set's gonna come in and use all of your freaking dragons. Like Fairy Dragon, best freaking card in the game compared to all the cards that are not dragons or dragon synergies. Not a very good card compared to, dragons.
Best card in the game with the exception of about 150 other cards. But other than that, best card in the game. Anyways, that's sort of where we're at. Like, they've revealed a lot of stuff. The expansion is coming out on December 10th, so we have about a little bit more than a month.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna see the slow trickle of cards being released, and I'm sure we'll see a lot more powerful cards to come.
Yeah. By the way, in case there was any doubt about this, the meta that's coming in on December, because I know we just exited a dual class arena event meta, and we're going to talk about what's happening in the current meta, right now. And a lot of people aren't having a lot of fun in the current meta. But
nope.
Whatever you're doing, whatever has happened up until this point, whatever problems you've had with Blizzard and like how weird the meta's been, or like, basically since Wild Rotations has come in, it's been kind of a clusterfuck. I'm not tooting I am tooting my own horn, but I think justifiably, because I went down hard on this like before a month before Wild Rotations hit, and I was just like, this is going to be bad, like really bad. But by now we see the results of this, right? And they pulled back buckets to try to make it a bit better, and as we've seen, it's questionable whether it made things better. I don't know. I don't have any like advice to give at this point or whatever, but they're just, arena's kind of a mess right now. And for those of us who are thinking maybe another expansion will help solve things, well, not this one. This one's going to make things so much worse. They need a rule change to go with the incoming expansion, just to have arena not be a total like shit show. I don't like cursing too much on the podcast, but I just need to emphasize this, and without like screaming. It's going to be very bad. Like, you think it's been bad, it's going to be way worse. That's if they don't do rule changes to the arena offering rates when this rotation happens, and they might. They've been doing like changes all the time, and like, since they got rid of buckets, I think they're probably like trying to figure some stuff out, right? So it's hard to say how bad it's going to be when the expansion comes. But if they don't do anything that like hasn't been done before, like if they're just relying on their old tools, it's not going to work. This is going to be terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible, terrible. Worst meta of the year. Worst meta
All right.
of most years. There's a couple of exceptions. Um, so yeah, I don't know how fun it's gonna be, but dragons are notoriously non-interactive in the arena. Your opponent holds a dragon, they get a crap ton of bonuses. They have double the bonuses that the dragons have gotten. They have quadruple the amount of dragons you see and get offered. Like, yeah, the inevitable result is going to happen if they don't make changes. That's all I'm saying, and they're probably aware of it. This is not a hard prediction to make. This is like when you make predictions, you see like how many rounds of effects you have to go through to arrive at your end conclusion, right? So like if, for example, they printed a common that was a 1 mana 10/10, it doesn't take like a lot. It's just one step, right? This card is in the game, people have the card, it's gonna be a bad meta. Done. It takes a few more steps to get to like wall rotation can't possibly be balanced. It's gonna be crap for people who really care about the arena. Like it may be a little more fun or whatever, but like balance is going to hugely suffer at the top. Like that takes a few more steps, right? You have to like figure out how this works, what they can do, all this. This is not too many steps. This is maybe like 2 to 3 steps removed from how dragons are going to affect the arena. So Blizzard 100% knows this is what's going to happen in the arena, and they have plenty of time. And they've known that this expansion was coming for like at least 6 months, right? If not longer than that. I don't know how long their development cycle is nowadays, but it used to be like almost a year that they knew what was going on before they released the cards. Now it's probably shorter. I imagine they're like more efficient at it, hopefully. But they've had time to prepare, and I have to think that something is happening with the release of Descent of Dragons. That's why I'm not like too worried. It's because it would just be so stupid for nothing to happen with this, especially when they've been tinkering with Arena so much the last like month. Yeah.
Cool.
Kate, let's talk about the current Arena, because this expansion is not in yet. It's not going to be until December 10th. We are now in the Arena without dual class, but with all the other rules in place.
All right. So we can talk about the current meta and how it's being dominated by our paladin overlords. If you look at HS Replay right now, here are the current win rates. Paladin stands at a dominating 57%.
Here's the thing you have to know about that number. It's been rising. I don't know if it stopped rising yet, because it started at like 55. It's at 57 now.
It went as high as 57. Right now it's 56.8.
Oh, okay. So it's probably stabilized.
It's stabilizing. And second class is Warlock at 55%.
Mm-hmm.
And then no one else is above 50%. And Shaman is holding up the rear, really tied with Hunter. They're like neck and neck here at 43.5%. That's really low.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before. The healthiest meta tends to be one in which no class is below 45 and no class is above 55. You know, you can have a little bit of.
I don't even think that's that's a pretty unhealthy meta. I think you need to get to like 52.5 and 47.
Yeah, but we almost never get those. So really,
it
like
happens
that's what
every now and then.
It happens every now and again. But what you're looking for is really you don't want classes to break those numbers, especially
not at the top.
The top is more important than the bottom.
Mm-hmm. Because at the bottom you can always avoid picking those classes if you really care about your win rate.
Exactly. So the top is what will most determine how your experience is going to be. You have a choice in the bottom. You don't have a choice in who you face and how they interact with you. No, not in a big sense. So yeah, that is the problem. And we have a lot of Paladin Stone right now. And if you look at the most common cards, these are the you're not going to have fun cards. It's Keeper of Oldemon, it's Seal of Champions, it's Spike Ridge Steed, it's Potion of Heroism, and you know these are all things in which once they get onto the board, it helps them keep it. Keeper of Oldemon is just it doesn't even matter; they could be off the board, but suddenly they have a tempo advantage potentially, and then it's the cards that help them get that advantage. It's Lost in the Jungle, it's Vine Cleavers, it's Righteous Protectors. Shielded Minibots. You see just a ton of these cards. So because Blizzard has significantly bumped up the class offering rates, Paladins are just able to get all of these tools, all of these snowball effects, and then win off of that.
Yep.
That's kind of it.
Yep. And Warlock has all those board clears, all those high value cards. You guys know how Warlocks do.
Warlocks are really good. We talked about this in our preview. We looked at it and we're just like, holy hell, they have so many removals.
Everything.
So much removals. All of the AoEs, and they have a sort of anti-paladin early game card in Imp Gang Boss. That's their second most common card. And Imp Gang Boss against, Righteous Protectors, Muster for Battles, against all of those. It's amazing. It's like game-winningly good in the early game against Paladins. So that's one of the reasons that Warlock is pretty high up there.
Yeah, so if you look at the meta right now, you can just ignore all the classes not named Warlock and Paladin. They're just absolutely dominant. It's not even close. You can look at what's number 3 right now. Like Druid or Mage or something?
It's Druid.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter. I played a Druid. Druid feels fine. But then I faced Paladins and Warlocks, and it did not feel fine because there were Paladins and Warlocks. And the worst part about Paladins is that, as we keep saying, it's not like a terribly difficult class to play. So you get a lot of Paladins. I feel like half my matches, even I'm not, like, it's not like half my matches at 10-0 are against Paladins. Half my matches at like 2-2 are against Paladins, or like 2-1. You just see them everywhere because they're a popular class, easy to play, easy to grasp. I think if you look at our preview, right, MERPS, you mentioned that they have a hole at 4, and I was like, okay, they do have a hole at 4, but they have the ability to set up. And then they have the ability to knock them down later. Like, the hole at 4 is not that big of a problem when you have so much value.
Well, it's not that much of a problem when they just bump up the offering rates such that you can take Keeper for all of your 4s. That's the thing.
That's
it's like
true.
You can go back and listen to our preview. That was under the assumption, because whenever they change it, they set everything to 0, right? Which is what they did. And they set it to 0.
But our assumptions were 2x. This is 3x, so it's not. Well, okay, our assumption wasn't 2x. That's right. Our assumption was the old rules, which is plus 50% and plus another 50%. So it's only like So it's only 1.5x for Keeper. It would be 2.25x for spells and weapons.
Right.
Like
and Keeper is their most common card right now. Like that's the thing that you find most commonly.
Well, because when you see a Keeper, you take a Keeper.
It's too good.
Yeah.
It's too good. And it just like you have no hole at 4 if you're able to fill that supposed hole with one of the best cards in the game. And that's how you get Paladins where they are. That's kind of where we're at.
And let's look at why this meta is especially bad, beyond the fact, like, this meta is worse to play in than most metas where there's a dominant, like, 57% win rate class, because there's 2. And beyond that, the 2 lock each other out. So if you're trying to beat a Paladin, what do, right? You get on the board. You need to be on the board. You can't let them steed. You got to push them. You got to get the damage in before steed comes out, and then you win the game. Because you're not going to outvalue a Paladin, right? With Vine Cleaver and steed, they also have whatever the card draw is, that, like, when minions die on the floor, like Sigil. Like, they got stuff. You're not going to outcard advantage a Paladin in this meta, and they're going to do a good job of getting on the board. So you get them off the board, and all of a sudden, Keeper of Alderman is still great, but not, like, super ridiculously great. And Steed is still great, but not super ridiculously great. Vine Cleaver is still great, but not just win the game because I hit you in the face twice great. And that's what you have to do. But if you build your deck to do something like that, and then you face a Warlock, you're dead. Because you've gone all in on the early game, and they have, like, 2 board clears. And, they also have decent early games, so they're not going to be dead before they clear you and you're dead. So, you can't really, like, game the system, right? Just because you can identify who the top dogs are doesn't mean you can take them down, because you don't know which one you're facing. If you are not playing Paladin or Warlock, or even if you are, the way to do it in this meta is to just ignore the fact that Warlocks exist. Because you can't win against both Paladin and Warlocks, and there are a lot more Paladins than Warlocks. Also, they're a little bit better. So
Yeah.
that's all you can do.
I found that something that's really useful is um, don't be afraid to just be aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Take those risks in game. Because if you just play a normal game, you're gonna lose. So
Mm-hmm.
if we look at shamans, right, and how they're at the bottom, this past week I actually did 2 shaman runs. While I was watching, I was just watching like the Hearthstone finals. I was watching the StarCraft 2 finals. I was watching Overwatch League or Overwatch World Cup. So I actually played a decent amount of Hearthstone while I was watching all of those things. Played 2 shaman runs, got 8 wins and 9 wins. And it was really off the back of Jade Lightnings, which is the most common card in shaman decks. It's not that hard to get multiple copies.
Yeah.
But with shamans, all I'm trying to do, I'm playing like a kind of a hidden hunter.
Yes.
People aren't that afraid of shamans, so what I do is I try to rush onto the board. Um, I'm not going to be able to keep it because I'm shaman, and that's just not what they do nowadays. They can't keep stuff on the board. But if you look at their most common cards, it's Jade and Lightning, Flame Wreath Faceless. All I want to do with Flame Wreath Faceless is get it down 1 turn and then hit face
Hit
once. They
face.
clear it. Yeah, they clear it, whatever. Um, Crackle, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's going face. Totem Golem, if I can drop it early turn, I can go face a little bit. And then I have, do I draft Volcanoes? Yeah, I do, because I need to clear them so I have a couple more turns to Jade and Lightning face. Seriously. And then, of course, Jade Claws, right? So I can get.
That's a lot of face damage.
That's a lot of face damage. In all seriousness, this is like just the strat now. I
Yep.
think if you can't beat them normally, you have to put pressure on them, right? You have to make sure that they don't just get to play their game. And the good thing about stuff like Jade and Lightning, about Crackle, this stuff, it goes past steeds. I don't care if you steed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do, because I still lose to it a decent amount. But thankfully, even if they steed, I still have outs. I still have ways I can get the win from you. So that's how I've been kind of winning the past week. I do agree with everyone. It's not that fun. Like right now, with this many class cards, like, we complain, or a lot of people complain about sort of neutral stone, but then Blizzard does that thing where what they always do, it's either like, oh, nothing, or double. It's like they take something and then we double it.
It's not double exactly.
It's not double, but
like they
I mean,
like
that,
win
that's the Blizzard
plus
meme.
50%, right? They have their
Haha.
doubling. They're twice as good as they normally are.
So that's the thing I don't like really understand. It's like we have this base sort of huge class offering rate bonus, but then we also have micro adjust. It's like, well, if you have micro adjust, why do you need to up everything? It's like, I don't, too many levers, and then we're like panic pulling some that I don't think it's so messy, man.
Okay.
It's just
Let me
so freaking
explain
messy.
the philosophy behind it. But before that, I want to jump on your shaman point and just make it clear to everyone. That's how you play every class now.
Yeah.
Not named paladin or warlock. If you can't join them, that is the only way to consistently beat them. Go really, really fast, hit to the face. And just ignore warlocks. And if you face a warlock, you're probably going to lose, but that's okay, because there's not that many warlocks in the meta. And you need to be able to take care of paladins. If you don't win against paladins in this meta, you just don't win. You're going to go because half the meta is paladins at all win rates. And paladins are fairly brain dead still to play. So it's just everybody can pick a paladin and then do decently with it at least. Now they can't all get 12 wins, but they can do quite well with the power. Just wanted to, and like MERPS said, right? He's using a shaman, literally the worst class in the meta right now. He's doing fine. You can do fine in this meta. This is not a meta that is like, oh my god, things are so terrible, no skill is involved. No, skill is involved. It's like particular kinds of skill, and it's not very diverse, and you do the same thing over and over again every game. So it's not fun, but there is a lot of skill to actually be able to beat these paladins and whatever. Like, just think of paladins as bosses, right? They all do the same thing. So yeah. So that's where it is in the current meta. The other point I want to make about the current meta is it's going to end very soon, maybe even by tomorrow before this podcast is like released, because Blizzard said the good part about getting rid of buckets is that they can push the micro adjust button quicker for some reason. So, been a week now. BlizzCon's over. Monday, when the workday starts, someone's probably going to push the button or prepare to push the button and actually push it on Tuesday or whatever, right? But I am seeing the micro adjust happening very, very soon. And this meta will end. And there will be a new meta where paladins get nerfed to hell. And we'll see what happens there. When it comes to the class cards, I think that point's a little overblown. Like right now, about 1/3 of cards in the meta are not class cards. And if you're Blizzard and you're sitting there and you're like, how do people have fun? Do people have fun with neutral cards or do they have fun with class cards? People have fun with class cards. And they do. They just have like, why do you play this game?
It's so true. It's so true. Here's the thing. It's like we have people listening to this. You're really listening to the ramblings of two old grumpy men telling kids to get off our lawn and stop playing with their class cards.
Back in my day, Yetis and Raptors were good enough.
That's really the thing. It's like, look, we obviously care about this game. You know, we like to analyze it, be good at the game. But, you know, there's a whole huge population out there. You know, we're the minority, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a huge population out there that just wants to play all of these cards. They want to do crazy evolve stuff. They want radiant elemental combos, right? They want that sexy sort of like mass 7-minion N'Zoth revival kind of stuff. That's what they want. You know, that's what they're aiming for as well. And you know, Blizzard wants to give that to them because they're paying the bills. So I do understand that point.
Yeah.
Although at a certain point, it's like you also get to you have to put out like a decent product that people will keep on coming back again and again.
And I will put another statement on here that I think may be controversial, but I don't think the class card bonus is too high for a good meta. I said this last Lightforge. I said 3x is probably okay. It's probably the edge of what you want to do. 2x is what we used to have before, and it was totally fine, and no one really wanted more class cards. But it was kind of a you know, by the books arena, right? More or less. So I can see them wanting to up it, and 3x is about as far as they can go without things going too crazy. So the question is, of course, when you look at the current meta, it's total crap. What happened, right? Where did this go wrong? If ADWCTA, you're saying 3x is okay, and we're at 3x, why is it shit? It's shit not because it's 3x class cards. Remember, we still have 1/3 neutral cards, 2/3 class cards, instead of if you offer 2x, and then it's like the other way around. Like when we were offering 2x, you had like 12 class cards. You had like 1/3, maybe a little over a third class cards, but definitely less than half class cards. So maybe 2.5 is like the magic number, but I really don't mind having 2 class cards for every neutral card. The problem is that once you get rid of buckets, all of your steeds are not offered against ridiculously good cards. They're offered against whatever cards. And so every time you get offered a steed, you will 100% take a steed. Which means, not that the power level is high, which is what everyone's seeing. Like, power levels are too high. I don't really mind the power level. What we're seeing is that there's not enough cards in the pool, so everyone can be almost guaranteed steeds. Everyone is guaranteed Vine Cleavers, guaranteed all of these cards. And that makes it not fun to be in the arena. Because arena is about what you don't have. It's about being forced to adjust. It's about, like, playing cards and like not knowing what your opponent's going to do. If my opponent's going to steed on 6 every game, why? Like, I'm playing constructed basically, right? That's people's and not only am I playing constructed in that that's how the game works in constructed, but I'm playing constructed in that everything is so predictable. That's what you don't want to happen in the arena. So how do you change predictability? You increase the card pool. I've been saying this ever since they started wild rotations, which is that they are not putting enough sets into the rotation. And once they got rid of the classic sets, and yeah, they're adding more sets in the arena right now, and the overall cards or whatever may be approximately similar. But once you get rid of the classic sets, your power level has jumped, right? And not only has your power level jumped, they are concentrated in these like same whatever cards. So back when we had classic set, we are already running into this problem where if you didn't have buckets, you would see the same cards over and over again. And when you had buckets, you would say the same choices over and over again, and then people would decide which powerful card to take over and over again. You never solve the problem. This problem that everyone's like, oh, this is crazy right now, it's existed in pretty much the same form since April. And Blizzard just never solved it because I like literally have not heard anybody echo me for this point. People have said a lot of other things I've said, but no one seems to have like grasped onto this idea that we need more sets in the arena. Well, here's your problem, right? Like whenever I say something and it doesn't happen immediately, it's gonna happen eventually because I'm just talking fundamentals here. If it seems like it's a little bit of a problem right now, but no one really cares, at some point, some innocuous thing is going to happen. It's going to throw everything off. That's how balance works, right? If balance didn't work at a fundamental level, then you just keep testing things over and over again. You get every meta right, and you're fine. You don't need any philosophy. You don't need anything. You're just going to trial and error your way through it. But if you want to balance, whether it's a game mode or a set of cards or whatever, at its base level, you need everything to work at the base level. And one thing that Wild Rotations has never worked on a base level is the diversity. They just didn't put enough sets in. And they've released 3 sets since then, so maybe they can put like at least one more set into the meta. Which they haven't, by the way. If you look at what's coming with Descent of the Dragons in their announcement, they have the same number of sets that they normally put in. They have 2 small sets and then 4 large sets. I think they normally have 1 small set and 5 large sets, if I'm thinking about this correctly. Or do they have 1 small set and 4 large sets? So maybe they're increasing the number a little bit. But it's not like... Actually, what is the answer? How many large sets are in a normal meta in Wild Rotations? I think it's 4, right? Is it 5? Because if it is 4, then we're actually getting in Descent of Dragons rotation 2 small sets in Blackrock Mountain and One Night in Karazhan, especially Blackrock Mountain. That has like a very small, that's even smaller than a normal small set. Then the actual amount of cards is actually going to decrease from what we normally see. If we have 5 normally, like if we have 5 large sets normally, if we have 4 large sets normally, then we're going to very slightly by Blackrock Mountain increase the number of cards. But either way, what they really need to do is add 1 more large set into the rotation. At least 1 more large set. Like if you're thinking about steeds, right? Or like how many steeds do you normally see now per deck? Like 2? Like you add a large set, it goes down to like 1.6. Okay. Luncho from Venezuela said, usually 1 adventure, 3 sets, basic plus classic plus newest expansion. Okay, so they are upping the amount of cards in the arena. So they added, so now they have 2 adventures and then 4 sets, rather than 1 adventure and 4 sets. So they are like solving the problem a little bit. But keep in mind, Blackrock Mountain is a very small set. So I don't think it's going to make a very noticeable difference, unfortunately. They need to add a large set into this pool, not a small set.
Okay.
Or like a large set and a small set. Like, that's how the math works. Otherwise, you're going to end up with either, one, a less desirable meta to Blizzard, where it's, you know, a lot more neutral cards than they want, a lot less exciting than they want, or you could have all the excitement and just, like, not have the same issues that we have right now by diluting your card pool.
Okay. That's great. All right. Can we talk about something else now? I really just zoned out for the past 2 minutes. Like, once you got into this, like, that sort of analysis, I could not care less. Okay.
Okay, but that's what's wrong with the arena right now. I think it's very important that people, because everybody right now is like piling onto this idea that the arena can't live with 3x bonus to class cards, which is silly. If this game can't function where 2/3 of the cards in your deck are class cards, then you don't have a game. Then you have a game where the neutral and class cards are so out of whack and that's not what Hearthstone is. Like Blizzard didn't do that bad of a job balancing neutral cards with class cards. So I think people are focused on like the wrong thing, and it's not like an opinion. It's kind of like a mathematical fact that if you're reducing class cards, like it is a solution. It will get you to the right answer, but the fundamental problem is not that there are too many class cards. The fundamental problem is that you're seeing the same overpowered cards too much. So make sure you're blaming the correct problem, and that there's many different ways to solve for that problem. This is not a too many class cards thing. This is a too many steeds thing. And steed just happens to be a class card, right? You have to identify the problem. If you identify the wrong problem, you create solutions for the wrong problem. And that may either create more problems than it's worth, or you're just like very narrow in how you think the problem can be solved, when it can be solved in many different ways while preserving the good things that you get from having more class cards.
Yep.
Okay. What's next?
Battlegrounds.
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 What is Battlegrounds, MERPS?
So, guys, this was announced at BlizzCon. Now, if you guys have been living under a rock, let me explain. If 2018 was the year of battle royales, right? Fortnite and all that stuff, PUBG, then 2019 was definitely the year of the auto battlers, starting with Dota Auto Chess, and then we have Underlords and TFT right now. And Hearthstone just announced they are jumping into the fray with a new mode called Battlegrounds. It's basically Hearthstone Tavern Brawl auto battler. And it has a lot of the very similar auto battler mechanics that you should be familiar with if you've ever played any of the games or even just watched it. So, you pick. Well, one of the differences is the heroes in Hearthstone's Battlegrounds have hero powers, whether they're passive or they're active. So you have 24 heroes, I believe.
Wait, how can they be active?
Hmm?
Wouldn't that be like not auto?
Well, no. Like some are purely passive hero powers, and some, they cost money for you to do stuff.
Oh.
There's money involved.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
But they're still passive. You have to like pay the money ahead of time.
Yeah, I mean, everything's passive. I guess if you want to, like Hearthstone is passive.
Well, no, you have to like click things and then click another thing. That's the active part of Hearthstone. Auto battlers just get rid of that, right? You just like draft a deck and then you keep like tweaking your deck, and then you're just like, we'll see.
No, you like, for example, in TFT, you have to move your units around. You decide what to equip on each minion.
Yeah, like before the battle starts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it's all passive once the game starts.
Yeah, sure. I get. You just put it in such a weird way. Anyways, Hearthstone is coming out with one of these. It's going to be 8 players, and it's going to be coming out on Tuesday, open beta, or open whatever. Like, as long as you pre-order the game, or if you attended BlizzCon, you are able to try it on Tuesday. We'll see how it goes. And with the announcement of Battlegrounds, unfortunately, it kicks Arena out of the front page into a new button with Battlegrounds called Modes. So it's like constructed and then Arena. It's
not constructed. It's just play.
It's play.
It's play. Yeah. That's how you play the game, by playing constructed.
I mean, that's the most telling, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, do you want to play Hearthstone? Sure. Do you want to play Arena? Well, that's not what playing.
Hearthstone. Yeah.
That's not playing Hearthstone.
No, you're just doing weird stuff.
Arena is no longer on the front page of the UI. It is now in modes. I don't know how. Look, I haven't tested Battlegrounds. I've seen some videos on it. I've seen some other people try it out. I will withhold judgment until I actually try it out. I definitely want to try it out. I've never been about auto battlers, really. If you guys have seen my streams and you guys have sort of heard my responses, I'm just like, they don't super interest me. I will play this at least a little bit because of Hearthstone, and all the minions and heroes are very familiar, but I don't know. From what I've seen, this just seems like Blizzard just jumping on the bandwagon, putting out like an auto battler that's fairly generic, really does not push the envelope, but it also doesn't provide much polish in the game
Oh my
format.
god, the UI looks so weird.
It's so weird. In all honesty, it just looks like a tavern brawl right now. But I don't know. I could be very personally surprised.
So here's what happened.
I could be.
At the annual Activision meeting, they're like, Hearthstone, make more money. At the Hearthstone meeting at the beginning of the year or sometime, Hearthstone's like, hey, we gotta make more money. How do we make more money? We need to attract attention back in Hearthstone. Benbro left. People are leaving Hearthstone. This is not good. And they're like, all right, we gotta do what people like, right? We gotta do what the people like. What do the people like? Go out, talk to the people. What do they like? And all the people are like, yeah, we're no longer playing Hearthstone. We're playing auto battlers. Because Hearthstone is like so 2014. And auto battlers are so 2019, maybe even 2020, but not guaranteed. And Hearthstone's like, okay, so then at the end of 2019, we are going to release our auto battler product, and hope it goes well. And they're doing it, and they're hoping it goes well. And I, for one, am going to play the hell out of the game mode until the next expansion. Yeah, until the next expansion comes out, at least for the arena, because I don't know. Arena's just not the same without Yetis. Also, like, look, Blizzard hates Arena. We know this. You know this. Everyone knows it. They're at least getting more honest about it now, right? UI-wise, they placed Arena where it has always been, which is not on the front page. And now there's this new shiny game mode, and I'm gonna see how it goes. I don't think I'm gonna be too interested in it. It feels very passive to me. It feels like, I'm sure there's strategy involved, like a lot of it. Like, if you don't know, like, if you don't know anything about auto battlers, like, there's a lot of strategy to like how you set up your board, basically, right before the game starts. But then after the game starts, it's just a crap ton of RNG, like more than regular Hearthstone. And on top of that, I think the way the Hearthstone setup is especially RNG, like, is especially prone to RNG. Because the ability of your like creatures to support your other creatures and how your other opponent, it's like there's more RNG than in the normal auto battlers when you have actual creatures on the board. At least from my limited understanding of the format. But I'm definitely going to pre-order it and give it a go. See how it goes. I highly doubt me and MERPS are going to become Battlegrounds players, Hearthstone Battlegrounds players, in addition to Hearthstone Arena players. We are certainly not abandoning the arena. Even if we do end up playing some Battlegrounds, we will still be playing the arena. It's not really a limited game mode of Hearthstone. It's a tavern brawl. Like, it's a competitive tavern brawl. It's a tavern brawl with more strategy than normal tavern brawls. But we'll see. It feels a little too passive to me. And Hearthstone's already a pretty passive game. Like, I don't know. I never understood the appeal of auto battlers to play. Like, is Hearthstone too passive for you? Like, MTG was too complicated and too, like, active, and you have to like pay attention to every turn. Fine, you go to Hearthstone. Now you don't even have to do anything on your opponent's turns. Strategies get way more simplified, but they like matter more, right? And that's, I don't know. I don't know if you can. I feel like I would just get bored. But I haven't played it. I have only watched it be played by other Hearthstone players, and I'll be honest, I didn't understand half of it. So I'm gonna dig in and try to first get good at it, right, and then I can like judge how much strategy actually goes in it. But yeah, just don't worry, guys. We're still in Hearthstone Arena, no matter what happens with Battlegrounds.
All right. That's it for that.
Yep. And if you guys want to watch us play Battlegrounds, we'll be streaming it in the month of November, at least. Like, it's entirely possible that I play this game mode in the month of November and then just like don't touch it again for the rest of its existence. I feel like that's like the most likely thing to happen here.
Bet on that. Definitely bet on that.
But I will be playing it on stream, and you can watch with me live as I discover its mechanics on Tuesday, because that'll be the first time I play it. And then I'll probably play some off stream to like figure it out more, and then come back on Friday with a better understanding of the game mode, and we'll see how good I am by the end of the month.
The amount that I stream of it will purely depend on the first 2 hours and how much I like it. That's it. If I don't like it, I'm like, no, screw this. I'm just going back to Paladin Stone. I don't care. I'll make like weird combos work. I'll play that instead. I just don't. I don't know. Like I looked at it. I've read a lot about Battlegrounds just to see what it brings to the table, what new thing, what sort of like tweak they offer that TFT like isn't offering, or I'm just like, this is just a watered down version of that stuff. It doesn't, in my view, it doesn't bring anything new. It doesn't add polish to anything. The strategy doesn't seem to be as deep. I mean, it just can't be, because like, for example, in TFT, well, it's Hearthstone, and you in TFT you actually position within a grid,
Yep.
right? You position your minions, and then there's like items involved, and then there's all that. Like you just can't. There necessarily cannot be as complex of a game, and I'm just like, no. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't really understand why Hearthstone was picked for this thing. Like, I get it, Hearthstone people are leaving to like auto battlers, but this is like, I don't know how many people is Blizzard going to win back to Hearthstone with this new auto battler mode for like the long haul.
I can't see it, because if you want to play an auto battler,
yeah,
there's auto battlers, right?
Like, why wouldn't you play another auto battler?
And
that is actually an auto battler.
This is the most non-Blizzard thing, which is sort of like in sort of a rush fashion, just ride on the coattails of an industry, right? I mean, Blizzard, they're known for pioneering and saying, okay,
I don't know about pioneering.
No. What they do is like, instead of hopping onto something and being like, oh, I think this is what people want, here you go. They're like, okay, we know that there's interest here, but this is how we think people should play the game.
They refine it down to its like base elements of fun, and then they like blow that fun part to be like 4 times its regular size and strip away all the parts that are not strictly necessary for the thing to work.
Like, this is how, before StarCraft, we had real-time strategy.
Yeah, we had good ones.
We had Command and Conquer.
Red Alert was great.
It was
Red
good.
Alert single player campaign was great.
Yeah. The multiplayer.
Multiplayer was crap.
It was crap, and Blizzard looked at that and was like, "Wait, this isn't like we can make this better and make the units different as well." For Diablo, we had sort of these action RPGs, but they were like, no, they're not doing it right. This is the way you should be playing the game, and we all agreed, yeah, this is the way we should be playing the game. They came out with Overwatch, and it was just like, what? We had games kind of like Overwatch before, but nothing exactly like Overwatch, and they just created this sort of new, but yet really familiar genre that was really easy. We're just like, yes, this is what we want to play. Thank you, Blizzard.
Yes, thank you for showing us Overwatch. Like, it's amazing.
And this is really kind of like,
and like just even like Hearthstone, right? Like, talk about the game we're actually playing as well. Like, I played Magic the Gathering for like a long time before Hearthstone came out. When I started playing Hearthstone, I'm like, this is like definitely a less intense version of Magic the Gathering, like made for people who are like new to the genre, or like, it has a link to Warcraft. I get it, it's really basic. That's my impressions in the first 2 hours. And I'm like, but I'm gonna keep building my deck and whatever, right? I'm gonna keep playing the game. It's fun. Nothing's really happening with Magic for at the time. And then after I played for another like 20 hours, I'm like, no, there's something here. This is actually like not as dumbed down compared to Magic as I initially thought. In addition, it has these like elements that like Magic can't capture in terms of like how it feels, how it is to play, like a lot of the things. I just got hooked onto it, right? Like you'll never hear me make an argument that Hearthstone's more complicated than Magic, or that it takes more skill to play Hearthstone than Magic. But that's not what Hearthstone's going for. It showed everybody that you don't have to be a Magic the Gathering player to play this kind of card game. And for the kind of card games to like have skill, to like be an esport, to like do all the whatever things, right? Strip it down, build it back up, focus on the things that matter, add a couple twists. This auto battler thing, I think Blizzard could have done a good job on it. I highly doubt like making it a tavern brawl in Hearthstone was the serious way to go about it. This feels like the punting way, right? Like people talk about Heroes of the Storm and like, yeah, they made a whole game about it. Yeah, it's not like quite working out, but they like tried. This feels like they're not trying.
And I will say, I've played a little bit of League of Legends. And I think what they did, they simplified HOTS in certain ways that I thought were really good. And I thought that sort of, what they created in terms of that system, it's like if I were to play one of those games, way back when HOTS was like still popular as well, I would have played HOTS because League of Legends was something that I was like, no, this is too unwieldy here.
Yep.
And I think that's a huge win for someone like me to look at those two games and be like, no, I would actually just play HOTS rather than League of Legends.
Same
because
here.
I think it's more fun in that simplistic way. That's great. But when I look at this Battlegrounds, I'm like, no, I'd rather go play TFT. I don't like. This is where you dumb it down to a point in which I'm just like,
It didn't need to be dumbed down.
It didn't need
like
to.
It never
right.
felt that inaccessible to me, right? Like I've watched TFT before. I don't claim to understand half of what's going on, but it never felt to me the way like a League of Legends did, where I'm like, crap, like it's gonna take me forever to figure all this stuff out. It's like, no, I feel like I could like jump into TFT and like get decent at it in like 10, 20, 30 hours.
Yep.
Whereas like you try playing Magic the Gathering and get decent at it in 30 hours. Good luck. Like, good luck knowing how the mechanics work in all the popular decks in 30 hours of Magic the Gathering, assuming you've never played a card game before. So yeah. I don't know. We'll see. We're talking all this shit about Battlegrounds right now. Maybe it's like the best game ever, and we start playing it, and we get like super addicted. But we'll see. Let's talk about what you really want to talk about, though. Now, Merps.
Oh my god.
The Blizzard and BlizzCon also made some other announcements about stuff that's happening in the future. The two big ones, the ones that we're going to talk about, are 1, Diablo 4, 2, Overwatch 2. So let's talk about Diablo 4 first, because I know that the first hour and 24 minutes of this podcast have really just been you trying to hold back from talking about this.
I don't know how I can corral all my feelings right now, because I have a lot of feelings. I'll say this. I have never been so hyped and so disappointed from something game related wise. Like it's been it was a really roller coaster ride of about like 20 minutes because this is when Diablo was sort of being presented on Friday. So here's the thing. If you guys didn't watch it, what they did was they showed the Diablo 4 cinematic trailer immediately. One of the freaking best cinematic trailers I've ever seen.
Oh my freaking god. I saw so I did this in reverse order because I didn't tune in until like 20 minutes in. And all I saw was MERPS messaging me, being like, OMFG, OMFG, OMFG. And I was like, oh god, what's happening? Oh crap. BlizzCon's happening. I'm late. And I started tuning into BlizzCon after the video MERPS is talking about. So now I'm watching this second video, which MERPS will explain what the hell was in the second video.
Yeah, so afterwards they showed a gameplay trailer, an early look, and they have revealed 3 classes so far: the Sorceress, the Barbarian, and the Druid, all classes from Diablo 2. And they showed a lot of the gameplay and a lot of some of the skills, some of the environments.
Horses.
we have mounts apparently. And it was just
Ladders.
and it was just like looking at the game, I was so disappointed, not really because of the exact content within it, but if you look at the trailer, you see immediately how far they are from the actual game because it
Mm-hmm.
shows nothing. It's so generic. I will say, like, do I like the look of the environments? Yeah. Do I like the look of the characters? Yeah. Some people are criticizing. It's like, oh, it's just a more polished Diablo 3. I'm like, yeah, what were you expecting? It's like, that's
Diablo
exactly what it's, yeah.
4.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, Diablo 4 is going to be a better looking and more fun Diablo 3, hopefully. And as for the better looking part, it's going to be hard to have like a sort of crisis level graphics um, on there. So I think it looks fine. But the most disappointing thing was if you look for any sort of um, like actual substantive game related function within those
Mm-hmm.
trailers, it's nowhere to be found.
Yep.
And they confirmed it a little bit later on, and they said it's nowhere near done. And I'm
It's not
thinking,
releasing, the quote is not soon, not even Blizzard soon.
not even Blizzard soon. So what we're looking at here is optimistically like holiday 2021.
Way too optimistic.
Yeah, that's my optimistic. I do think they're gonna release it like, you know, November or like holiday season, right? But I'm thinking
D3 was released in like May.
it was. But yeah, I'm thinking like optimistically then. And they didn't announce Diablo 2 remake.
Like, I don't even care about Diablo
Ouch.
4, but I was looking so forward to the Diablo 2 remake. Or remaster or whatever, just like Diablo 2. Because you know what I'm gonna do sometime in the next 3 months? I already talked to MERPS about this. I'm gonna be playing some Diablo 2. Because I'm nostalgic as hell for Diablo 2, and whether there's a remaster coming out or not, I'm gonna play some of that. Maybe not on stream, maybe on stream. We'll see. But I wanna jump in and do some of the stuff we did before. But it was leaked that Diablo 2 remaster was coming out by a pretty credible leak, and then it didn't happen. And not only do we not get Diablo 2, but clearly I don't think anyone was expecting Diablo 4 to come out next year, but they confirmed that it was definitely not coming out for like a long time. Like, let's just
So
call. Yeah, go ahead.
from this weekend, really, like, what did we learn? We didn't learn anything. We just got a shiny new cinematic trailer, which looks amazing and it's super cool. And I was so happy for the 10 minutes I was watching it. But seriously, guys, if you haven't watched the cinematic trailer for Diablo 4, go watch it. Even if you don't like Diablo, like it's just that good.
Yeah, see, I had
Um
the opposite experience where I saw the gameplay trailer first, and I'm like, all right, this sucks, and we're not going to get it anytime soon because it's clearly nowhere close to being polished and finished. And then I saw the cinematic trailer, and I was like, okay, so Merps did not just suffer a stroke when he heard Diablo 4 and got super
you did
excited.
it the
That was
right way though.
actually a very good trailer.
But it got, I'm sure it got everyone so hyped up when they saw that first. I'm like, oh my god, this is the best game. Oh.
It's more like, this is the best game ever, followed by, so we don't really know what this game is about. You just wanted to
Yeah.
get us hyped.
But look, so here's the thing, because if you've been following the Diablo timeline, that Diablo universe, you know that they were already working on Diablo 4.
Yeah,
You knew it.
for like
Like
a
this was,
while.
yeah, for a while. So whether they announced it here or not with like a fancy cinematic trailer, it didn't change any of that. So essentially, what happened this weekend? Nothing happened. Like, um, nothing is going to come out for the foreseeable future. And this is why I was so looking forward to Diablo 2, not
Yeah.
just because I wanted to play Diablo 2 Remake, but I wanted something to come out sooner. Because
Mm-hmm.
what I expected, and it totally makes sense, if
Yep.
they announced Diablo 4 along with a Diablo 2 Remake, Diablo 2 Remake will be done, let's say, in like holiday 2020, right?
Probably
Holiday 2020.
earlier.
Probably earlier, maybe in like,
Yeah.
fall
And
or
then you get
something.
like 2 years to play Diablo 2 Remaster to bridge the gap. Because they're not
Yes.
coming out with more expansions to Diablo 3. So it would serve like not just those of us who don't play Diablo 3 anymore, but like all the players.
So I don't know. Great trailer. I'm glad that we got official confirmation, but we didn't really need it. So in terms of the Diablo stuff, it was a non-announcement.
Okay, here's
Really?
my take. My take
Yeah.
is this is exactly what happened at Blizzard headquarters. What happened is they're like, okay, remember last year? Last year, this is well, we'll call this 1 week after Diablo Immortal was announced. People were marked to get fired. Other people were marked to take their spots, and they said, okay, what do we do now? What do we do? We have to launch Diablo Immortal as a product. The Chinese people are waiting. They're gonna love it, but we can't die on this, right? We can't lose all of our goodwill in the West. We got to do something about it. And they're like, that's fine. Everything's gonna be fine. This will blow over eventually. But what we have to do next year, no matter what, is we have to announce Diablo 4. Because next year around this time is when we're going to release Diablo Immortal, and if we release Diablo Immortal, there's going to be a PR shitstorm. Unless we give people something else shiny to focus on. And we've been working on this damn game for 2 years already. Like, we should get some credit for that. So, over the course of the next year, there's a lot of focus on getting it polished enough to run those, 30 seconds of gameplay footage that did not look terribly great, and to finalize a few ideas so they can make some announcements, right? They legitimately made announcements. There's going to be skill points that are coming back, right? Mounts are in the game now with a skill that gets you off the mount and do an attack. It's going to be a crappy skill. And there's ladders, or there's ability to climb stuff, right? I don't know why that was a feature, but it was a thing that they really focused on, probably because they had nothing else. And they had a vague outline of how loot was going to work. They confirmed that there was going to be at least 8 players that could be in a game at one time. They confirmed a bunch of stuff, right? People had made decisions, and then people got together and made the actual game presentable in a demo fashion. It was on BlizzCon floor. You could play Diablo 4, or a really, really freaking limited version of Diablo 4, with no story or anything. So they got all that out, and they released it, and it had exactly the intended effect that they wanted. No one's talking about Diablo Immortal anymore. To the extent that Diablo Immortal launches, the people who aren't going to play Diablo Immortal anyway aren't going to shit on it in just focusedly on shitting on it, right? Because they're too focused on making sure Blizzard gets the itemization of Diablo 4 right, or whatever. Also, the most important thing about Diablo 4, and I never understood the huge outcry for this, but people really care about this. It's dark. Congratulations, everybody. You got what you asked for. Diablo 4 looks dark. Does it look good? No. But it looks dark, and that's much more important than looking good.
That was one thing. Okay, I got really, really annoyed at that. And I mean, this is just the internet, right? People like to pick at something, and even when it's not true anymore, essentially. Because, okay, here's the thing about it. Diablo 3 is pretty freaking dark. And, if you look at a lot of sort of the subject matter, how the monsters explode, there's a lot more blood in Diablo 3 than Diablo 2.
No, but Diablo 3 had too much lighting effects. They
It had
wanted
too
to
much
make
lighting.
it dynamic. The shadows were dynamic.
I know.
They were there was some color in different places that weren't faded colors, but were real, actual colors. That's not Diablo. Okay? What Diablo is you see in Act 3 Diablo 2, that was as colorful as Diablo ever got. That's not even green in the jungle. That's some faded, whatever. I don't know what green they use, but it looked like crap. It looked like dusty green. It was the trees had dust on them. Okay? You're in a jungle, but you're not lush green jungle. There's jungle everywhere, but it's dusty jungle. And that's what's important. That's what people want. They want a dusty jungle after going through a dusty sand area, which, clearly was dusty because it's sand. It has dust. And then you get back to your catacombs and your normal stuff, right? And then when you go up to the mountains with the barbarians, there's snow and more dust, right? That's the kind of look that they're going for. And people really cared about it, and they brought it back. So you look at Diablo 4 gameplay trailer, what do you see everywhere? Fog, dust, lots
People
of
really
dust,
care about
no
it,
shadows. Literally
no.
no freaking shadows. What is darkness but the shadows? But no. People's interpretation of darkness when it comes to Diablo is not shadows, because to have shadows, you need light. And you cannot have light in Diablo, apparently now. You have to have just dust.
It's muted everything. Everything is muted. but this is one of the reasons I hated kind of the backlash against Diablo 3. Some of the stuff was very much so warranted, like the criticisms about the real money auction house. I think every criticism that got is totally correct. But this whole thing about it not being dark enough, that took on a life of its own. And I think if you actually ask people exactly what do you mean, right? Like, I don't think they can explain it. I don't think a lot of people can explain what they meant
No,
by,
they'll
oh,
explain it, and it will not make any sense when you like
no.
look at the pictures, because it just wouldn't reflect reality. Because that's what happens when people get on these kinds of things. Um, it's anyway. Off of that, my point, going back to the story, is that can you see how we got sidetracked by this whole like dark thing, whatever? If you are a Diablo fan and you wanted a dark version of Diablo to come out, well, whatever else is going to happen, you're getting it. And when Diablo Immortal comes out, you're like, okay, this isn't for me, which is what Blizzard wants you to do, right? If you don't want to play Diablo Immortal, they don't want you to play Diablo Immortal. You're waiting for Diablo 4. And now you're good. And now there's no backlash against Diablo Immortal. And now the company has recommitted itself to making games for Western audiences that are like also like big and like whatever, right? And I'm sure they're going to do a lot better in Diablo 4 than Diablo 3, mostly because a lot of things went wrong in Diablo 3 at the launch, especially. But that was the purpose of this BlizzCon reveal. And if you think they had any other purpose, like, I don't know, the game's almost ready, let's announce it, or like, let's just show you what we've been doing, that's not really what any of the things that's happening there. 90% of the reason that the announcement happened is not because of the announcement itself, but it's because they needed to announce something so that people would not talk about the other stuff. And that's fine, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But just accept it for what it is, right? Diablo 4 might as well not have been announced.
Yeah. Pretty much it.
Okay. So moving on from Diablo 4, let's talk about Overwatch 2. We both played Overwatch. Overwatch 2 is coming out at some time, much quicker than Diablo 4, and it's not really another game. It's kind of like the same game, but it's got like missions, character development, like leveling up, like your skills and whatever. A lot of co-op focus on it, and you know, like a lot of stuff. Like it's basically like a really big expansion pack.
Here's the thing that I love. A lot of people, like pure Overwatch players, were pretty confused. They're like, wait, I don't understand the structure of this. And I was like, wait, this is so easy to understand. Overwatch 2 is just a Hearthstone expansion.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Where if you want to play multiplayer, you don't like, it's like you can buy the expansion, you don't have to buy the expansion. It doesn't really matter. But if you want the single player content, and you know everything that comes with it, you have to buy it. Overwatch 2 is just a Hearthstone expansion. That's the way you should look at it.
It's like a really big Hearthstone expansion. All right, it's got a single player mode. They're going to develop it more, right? That's why they're asking you for more money. Like, it's fine, and I think the content's going to be pretty good because I played some of the Overwatch events that they've had in the past, and they were pretty good.
They're so good.
Yeah.
So good. And they get the voice actors to do lines. You know, they always make multiple cinematics with those as well. So you get a nice little thing. You get a little bite of the Overwatch universe with it. And this is what people have been clamoring for a while. People are like, please make a single player Overwatch game. I'm excited about it.
I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, I think there's a huge amount of interest out there. And they also tease that there would be kind of a competitive nature to this as well, as in, you know, leaderboards for all of this stuff. And also, I just want to see the story of Overwatch. It's a very compelling story. And I want to see sort of like what kind of cool missions they have. I'm definitely going to get it day one. I'm definitely going to be playing it. You know, they got their $60. I have no idea how much it is, but they have their money from me.
Yeah, same here.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Same here. And yeah, we'll probably stream some of it at some points. But yeah, it's like I don't know what the kind of confusion or dislike of it is. If you're playing it, you don't want to buy this, you will still have access to all the multiplayer like competitive things that you would normally
no one gets left behind.
Yeah, including all the new characters, which I thought was really cool. Like they're not just like cutting you off, right? You get all new characters, all new maps, and I'm like, yeah, they're doing a solid to the people who don't want to get Overwatch 2. And you might not want to get Overwatch 2 because like sometimes you know maybe you're just a player who wants to play Overwatch, right? The base game mode, and you don't have use for these events and this other crap, and like just don't get Overwatch 2.
This is exactly like a Hearthstone expansion, where if you don't order the expansion or whatever, or you don't like take part in the expansion, that's fine. It doesn't affect your multiplayer at all, and you know you can just win packs even from the new expansion, right? But if you want to take part in the next sort of dungeon run esque, you know, expansion that Hearthstone comes out with, you have to buy it.
Yeah, like we've been playing basically Hearthstone 1 for a very long time. We haven't been buying any of the like single player expansions that have come out in the last like 2-3 years. Why? Because that's not what we do. We play the arena, right? We're playing Hearthstone 1. And they're still vaguely supporting Hearthstone 1, at least as much as they haven't supported Hearthstone 1 less because Hearthstone 2 now exists, right? And now we're getting Hearthstone 3 potentially with Battlegrounds, and we'll see what happens to the arena. But I don't see a worry in the Overwatch like part with Overwatch 2. It is kind of weird to call it Overwatch 2. I think that's where the confusion is, but they're trying to like sell the game, I guess. But in terms of the actual economic deal and the content that you're getting, I'm excited.
All right. So that was BlizzCon. A lot of stuff happened, but not a lot of stuff happened.
Yup.
That's a good way to put it.
Yup. I really think Overwatch 2 is the only thing that actually happened that was like at all an announcement. Because do you really need to announce a Hearthstone expansion? Right? Or like a WoW expansion? Do they really need to be announced?
Yeah, I mean, that's clockwork. Like, if they're not, that's the thing. It's like, in terms of announcements that are not routine, necessary kind of announcements.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for this Lightforge. It's gone on long enough, but we had a lot to cover. Tune in next week when we dissect whatever the hell new meta is in the arena and give you our actual reactions to having played this Battlegrounds game mode. So it'll be interesting. The next few, like, I feel like the next few Lightforges are going to be interesting to hear because it'll be like a lot of like random like stuff that's going to be Hearthstone Arena related, but we're going to be likely not super in-depth into the meta because it's going to be short if they ever do fix it. If they don't micro adjust it, it's going to still be crap and no one's going to care about it. Like, there's this Battlegrounds thing happening that I'm sure people want to hear more about as well. Like, it's going to be interesting. So tune in next week as well, and hope you guys enjoyed our BlizzCon wrap up. Cool. See you guys.
Cool.
Until next time, this is ADWCTA.
This is MERPS. Bye.